Let's get it. This is the Back Row Bengals Sports Podcast. I am your host, Josh Miller, and today we're going to bring you a very special edition of the Back Row Bengals show, College Football Playoff Edition. Now, as I was watching the playoff show last night, I was truly shocked at the utter garbage that I was looking at on my screen. As a UC sports fan, as a Cincinnati diehard, I was disgusted. And I got immediate text from all of my friends and family. But the first one to text me was my brother, ranting and raving and saying a lot of four-letter words that we can't say back here on this podcast. But we decided to come on here and we wanted to talk about the University of Cincinnati Bearcats and their chances at the college football playoff and how they can sneak in. His name is Brian Miller. Brian, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? How's it going?
It's going all right, man. It's nice to see that you finally want to come on here after years of making fun. Oh, you're going to go into the podcast there.
Well, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate the invitation, man. Anytime to talk some UC college football, man.
Anytime. So, also for all of the listeners out there that are currently on Twitter, we are also on YouTube. If you would like to go comment, talk about the college football playoff, we'd love to hear your reaction. Go to the YouTube channel. It's the same thing as the Twitter, Back Row Bengals Show. You can go on there, comment. It's a live stream. It'll be a good time. But as of right now, we're going to talk about just that absolute garbage that the College Football Committee put out there, and we're going to talk about it. So let's go through the rankings here. At number one, it's going to be Georgia. At number two, the most shocking here, and before we even get to UC, Brian, I want to start with the number two ranking.
Yeah,
Alabama.
Yeah,
with one loss to a dog shit Texas A&M team. Terrible. Yeah. What are your what did you when Alabama popped up? What were your initial thoughts?
Well, it was frustrating. I think they only have just an okay schedule, and so really, I think to put them up there at 2, and to say that they're the second best team in the country, even though I'm not sure their schedule is very convincing enough to be number 2. I mean, yeah, you took care of Miami. Okay, that was week 1. Okay, and then you beat an FCS school. Okay, and then Florida, who's they kind of went toe to toe with you guys. And then you played Southern Miss and then followed it up with Ole Miss, and so. I'm not really crazy about the fact that they get to be put up there just for the sake of being put up there. And I think when the committee made that decision last night, it was more about, hey, that's a brand name, and we're going to put the brand name up there. And it really doesn't matter, what their record is. I mean, it's like wins and loss. It's like the loss doesn't matter. And we'll get into that more tonight, but it's like the loss doesn't matter, and that's the most concerning thing to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was almost like they took that loss and they didn't even look at it. It was all a brand thing, and that's kind of what a lot of Twitter was saying last night and this morning and today, especially a lot of Cincinnati Twitter. This was a brand decision across the board. With Alabama, it's without a doubt it was a brand decision because not only did they lose to Texas A&M, they haven't looked dominant whatsoever.
Correct.
They haven't looked dominant at all, and it's a team that it's a brand, and so and also on top of that, they're basically securing in the college football playoff at the very least one SEC team, and now they're going to probably secure 2 if Bama goes out and beats Georgia.
And what that does is it protects them against the fact that maybe if they lost again in the SEC championship game, that they would still come back and still be maybe the 4th team in the college football playoff. And I think when you do that, then I think every UC fan kind of sat back and thought, we're about to get moved further down. And so like that's just like the laundry list of just effed up. You know what? I mean that was number 1 right there.
Yeah, you can curse on here, by the way.
Thank you for the permission. Thank you. I didn't know if we were keeping it family friendly or if we were allowed to let the expletives fly.
Well, I think no matter what, if you're a UC fan, you were letting the expletives fly last night and today. So I think it's allowed. I honestly do. Yeah, that's a great point. It allows for this backdoor Alabama to slide in, even if they do take a second loss. Because if they take a second loss, and it's going to be, oh, they lost to the number one team in the country. Yeah, but you lost to a garbage Texas A&M team. Terrible Texas A&M team.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
and
So
keep in mind that was the Texas A&M team that went toe to toe with Colorado week 1.
yeah,
Let's keep that in mind as well. All right, so this isn't just some fluke where Texas A&M just happened to win very, very big. No, A&M they barely got by to the Colorado Buffaloes. All right, just so we know.
The Buffs.
The Buffs.
Hey, why are you hating on Ralphie right now?
Buffs.
Why are you hating on the Buffs?
I got nothing against Ralphie. Ralphie's good. Well, I like Ralphie.
I like Ralphie.
I like Ralphie. Ralphie's good.
Ralphie's good. Ralphie's good.
Just saying, man.
No, Colorado's terrible. And right, you're right. They went toe to toe with them, and so let's just keep moving right down the list because this one makes sense. Michigan State, I do believe, deserved to be in the top 4 spot. They proved it. Beat Michigan. They're undefeated. Yep.
Okay.
I give them that.
Yeah. They beat Michigan, but I think, and this is where we can really get knee deep in the conversation, is that they played Indiana too, and look, they only won by 5 points. And
criminal.
UC won by 2 scores. And look, I'm not saying that Michigan State is not a bad team. They did what they were supposed to do, and if you do what you're supposed to do, then you should be able to be appropriately ranked, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're supposed to do all the things that you're supposed to do.
Correct. Now, outside of that Indiana game, okay, they played Rutgers, they played Western Kentucky, they played Nebraska and beat Nebraska in overtime. Okay, they've played Youngstown State. They beat Northwestern by a couple of scores. Okay, but you look at that schedule. I mean, outside of the Michigan win, it's not crazy impressive.
Yeah. No, it is. And so now let's talk about. You want to talk about strength? You want to talk about strength of schedule? We're talking about strength of schedule. Everyone wants to hit on UC for not having strength of schedule. Only UC and Oregon, and Michigan State, I guess, have wins against the team that's currently in the top 10 right now.
Yeah.
And everybody else doesn't. That's it. I mean, and that's it. And here's my thing about Michigan State. I think that they put them at 3 and Ohio State at 5 because Michigan State's going to be the sacrificial lamb. They're looking at Michigan State, and even though Michigan State's a pretty solid brand, but they're going to look at it and be like, okay, hey, we let them in because they won all their games and they did what they were supposed to do.
Yeah.
No, they let them in because it's setting up for Ohio State to beat them, and just like that, Ohio State beats them. Ohio State slides in that spot. They're just going to switch. They're just going to switch.
Yep.
And that's it. And you brought it up. It's strength of schedule.
And I kind of have a theory for how the committee kind of supported the Big Ten and how it really kind of screwed UC. And it doesn't even have to do with the fact that UC 6 and Ohio State is 5 or Michigan State's 3rd. And we can get into that later. But you look at some of the rankings towards the end of the top 25, and you look at who's in and maybe who's not in. And I tell you what, it's already like the tide is coming. The tide is coming, I'm telling you. And it pisses me off.
I'm looking at it right now. I mean, you got a 1-loss Houston and a 1-loss SMU who are both ranked inside of the AP top 25 quadrant there. But you got a 6-2 Minnesota, who's borderline good at best. You got a 5-3 Wisconsin, who actually is criminal. And then you got Iowa, who is just stuck in 1950, still running the same offense they did when Iowa wasn't even a state at that point. I mean, it's an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke. And what it is, it's a protection of your brand, and that's exactly what this committee did. It's a protection of the Power 5 brand, and that's where we're gonna get screwed. And I mean, go ahead.
No. While you're on that point, and here's the deal. Look, Minnesota, I'm sorry, but you lost to Bowling Green. Okay, that should be your elimination point right there. Because outside of that, they got blown out by Ohio State. They beat Miami, Ohio. They beat Colorado. Okay, they beat Purdue. they beat Nebraska, they beat Maryland, and they beat Northwestern. None of
That's it.
those teams on their schedule is convincing. Now, you tell me, if UC lost to a MAC school 14-10, all hell would break loose on you
No.
know what. They
Yeah.
wouldn't be anywhere where they're supposed to be. Where Minnesota is, I don't even think they would be ranked. And that's
No.
that's the issue right there.
Yeah. It truly is the issue. It really isn't about the better team anymore. And last night really did prove it. I mean, you want to talk about it's not about the better team. Let's go to Oregon. You want to talk about a disappointment. Oregon lost to a bad Stanford team that MAC schools could be
3-5, 3-5
3-5,
Stanford.
3-5 Stanford. They lost to them, and then they beat Cal, a 1-5 team. I think they're 1-6 now
By
by
one score.
single digit, by one
By one
score.
score.
By one score. You tell me, what has Oregon done that has actually shocked people?
Well, look,
Because by this
here's
standard,
the deal.
you might as well put Bowling Green in. You
Here's
might
the
as well
deal.
put Bowling Green in the
Here's the
top
deal.
5.
The one thing about Oregon, okay, look, to me, you have the best win in college football this year. You went on the road to Ohio State and won. And now here's where we get into the whole debate. Okay, I think they have the number one best win of college football this year. I think number 2, the best win of college football is Michigan State beat Michigan. Now, I think the third best win of college football this year is UC going on the road and beating Notre Dame. Now, that has to hold a merit for something. And what the committee said last night is that, yeah, it does. But then look at how they played against Tulane and Navy. And, okay, you're going to say that. And that's fine. Okay, but look at Michigan State. They beat Michigan, okay? They went kind of toe-to-toe with Indiana if you want to look at them as a comparable component to UC. They kind of snuck around against some other teams. And then, you have Bama in there, and they have, okay, maybe one convincing win, maybe, but they have a loss on their schedule. And so why aren't we counting the losses? And, that's the whole thing, man, is like the wins. And if we're not counting wins and losses, then why are we playing the damn season? Let's just scratch that.
Why are we even playing?
And let's just pick the rankings at the beginning of the year, pick whoever you want, draw them out of a hat, and let's just go play the championship.
Yeah. I mean, you might as well, if you're the group of 5, you might as well just pull out and have your own tournament. I mean, because there is no point. That's exactly what this is saying. So, and we'll keep going, and it'll show, like, this committee, this is set up to keep UC out. Like, that's exactly how it's set up. And we're going to keep going. So let's keep going to Ohio State, who, again, should not be there. And a lot of people said shouldn't be there. It goes back to they play Michigan State. Michigan State's that sacrificial lamb. Is that, okay, we're going to serve up Michigan State to Ohio State. Now, again, that win against Michigan was pretty damn impressive. However, inside of the Big Ten, let's be honest, who's Michigan played? Nobody. Who's Michigan been convincing against? Nobody.
Who has Ohio State played? Look at their schedule.
Ohio State played?
They played Minnesota. Yes. They lost to Oregon. They played Tulsa. And mind you, Tulsa, with the exception of the final 5 minutes, was about to damn near go out of Columbus with a win.
Yes.
They played Akron. They played Rutgers. They played Maryland. They played Indiana and beat them. Okay, fair enough. They played a bad Penn State team and barely snuck past them. They got Nebraska this week. They got Purdue next week before they finish up with the 2 Michigans. What the hell has Ohio State done to this point? If we're looking at the current body of work, what have they done to merit having a 5th a ranking of 5 in the playoff? I don't understand it.
I don't get it. There is nothing that can be explained from that ranking. That Ohio State ranking, there's nothing that can explain it. There's nothing that Barta, that freaking clown, there's nothing that he can say or justify for that 5th spot. And even the commentators during the show were shocked. They were shocked.
Yeah.
And so, got Ohio State at 5, Cincinnati's at 6. Who's right behind them? It's Michigan. Who's
Yeah.
right behind them? It's Oklahoma. Who's undefeated right now? So and basically they're going to say even if Oklahoma takes a loss, I can completely see them even if chaos happens and Oklahoma has a loss. They
Yeah.
will move Oklahoma right past UC.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I think they're already setting up for that perfect storm. Again, look, to go back to what you said about Gary Barta, okay? Last year, okay, he was asked the same exact question when UC had one of their cancellations against Temple, right? And I
Yeah.
think somebody asked him, he said, can a group of 5 team get into the playoff? He said yes. And the person who was asking the question said how. He said, Gary Barta, he said that it's about your body of work. It's about what you do. It's about what you're doing and how you're beating those opponents. Okay, got it. Last year, I get it. If UC didn't make the playoff, okay, you know, you had COVID, you had a shortened schedule. Okay, fine, whatever.
Yeah. It was also the first year UC went undefeated.
Where is the justification this year for the fact that they shouldn't be in the top 4? And right now, you look at, okay, Georgia's a clear-cut number 1. Got it. Easy. Understood. Okay, Bama has a loss. Michigan State is undefeated. Oregon has a loss. Ohio State has a loss.
To Oregon.
And Cincinnati is undefeated. Where is the fact that they manhandle Notre Dame? Where does that not come into play at all?
It's right. It's not coming into play. And listen, here's the thing. And people want to say, oh well, they only won by 7 against Navy and then 19 against Tulane, which is more than Oklahoma. Let me throw out there. But now that after it came out like that, I don't think it would have mattered. I don't think it would have mattered if we would have blown them out by 30. I think it would have still been the same because he's patting us on the head.
That's a good point.
He's patting us on the head. He's like, yeah, there you go. You guys have the highest group of 5 ranking ever.
That's a good point.
Ahead. Exactly what it is. You can have game day. There you go. When we're going to go out, we're going to beat Tulsa by about 55, and it's not going to matter because Ohio State took them. It was wire to wire with them.
Yeah. And I think I really think ESPN had something up their sleeve when they gave us game day before the rankings came out. Like it almost feels like it's almost too good to be true because they could have picked a couple of other games this weekend to go to. I think LSU Alabama would have been a good one to go to, but instead they picked UC and Tulsa. When instead that they could have had UC and SMU the following or 2 weeks from now, and I think that game would have stuck as a game day spot. But they picked this one, and so I kind of have a feeling that. It almost kind of feels too good to be true, right? You wouldn't just give us game day for the first time ever, and then the rankings come out, and then UC is 6th in the country, So, to me, it's partially like, well, are they trying to get the fans to be kind of, fired up and get them, kind of fill up the whole state and fill up the McMicken space? I mean, I guess when you go to Georgia 3 times or 2 times in fucking 3 weeks, I guess that's what happens when you don't have many people filling out your little game day space with fans. And so I guess you got to pick the fans that are riled up. That's a whole different story. But anyway,
that's not a bad theory. It really isn't. It really isn't. That's not a bad theory. Real quick, want to give a shout out to one of my day ones, Blackthorn. He's been watching me ever since I've been live streaming. He just wants to say, "Who day, Blackthorn? You're the man." So I mean, Brian, you brought up a lot of great points, and I really do understand that theory, and that makes a lot of sense. So I want to let's break this down, even if there is a way, because I do think I'm still hoping in my heart of hearts, if chaos happens, UC can still find a way to get in.
Yes,
I still think so. I still think it can happen. So let's go. Let's take a look here. The paths that need to happen or the way it needs to happen for UC to get in. I think we both agree Georgia needs to win out.
Absolutely.
I think Georgia needs to win out. So there's one.
Absolutely.
Bama needs to take a loss before Georgia.
Yeah, and I think the most ideal thing is everybody loses, but that's obviously that's a very low probability. And so their remaining schedule, they have LSU, New Mexico State, Arkansas, and then finish up with the Iron Bowl. So, my concern almost is if they don't lose against LSU, New Mexico State, or Arkansas, now all of a sudden Auburn beats Alabama. Now we opened up a whole new can of worms. I mean, now you have an Auburn team who's right now currently ranked 13th, beats Alabama. Now, granted, Auburn hasn't had the best schedule, hasn't been, fully competitive so far this year, but the fact that they're going to be Alabama in the Iron Bowl and then get a chance at Georgia in the SEC championship game.
But honestly, are you gonna bet on Auburn making it in at with 2 losses and then probably going to Georgia and losing in the title game?
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
That's fair.
I would rather have that happen, I guess. And I honestly do think Auburn could beat Bama. I don't think Bama's a world beater this year. I think Georgia is. No. I don't think Bama is. I think Michigan State taking a loss somewhere would be great. But they play Ohio State. That's the problem. There's the issue. That is the biggest issue here is Michigan State versus Ohio State. If it came down to it, and both those teams have won out to that point, who would you want to win, Brian Miller? Who would you want to win, Michigan State or Ohio State?
That's a good question. That's a good question.
Knowing that Ohio State has to play Michigan the week after.
And Michigan State finishes up with Penn State at home. I think I would want Ohio State to win in that game. I think, gosh, that's a tough because no matter what the loser of that, they're not going to say that, oh well, they get to drop below UC. At least that's what we hope what would happen. But knowing the kind of the Big Ten bias from the committee, from the 13-person committee, I don't think it's got to be. I think Ohio State wins, and then we hope that Michigan comes out next week and beats them.
So I'm going. So I mean, listen, anything could happen. So I completely see that. I'm going to disagree with you there. I would like to see Michigan State win, and I'll explain to you why. So if Michigan State wins, Ohio State is out. They're not
because they already got the one loss. Okay,
right. And Michigan State's going to go to the Big Ten title game. UC will go to the conference championship. So not only is it not an extra loss, it's also they lost a win too.
Yeah.
So I would like to see, I would go with Michigan State there, and then also I want
to flip my pick there. Yeah, I would because right now we're gonna root for the team who's ahead of Cincinnati to currently lose, so UC can get in the 5th spot. So I 100% agree with you. I'm going to root for Go Sparty Go when they play Ohio State here in a couple weeks.
Yeah. So I'm going to root for Michigan State. Can it happen? I don't know. I'm pretty sure the game is in East Lansing. So if it is, there's some magic could happen. So I'll take my chances. And then
it is at Columbus. In Columbus.
It is going to be at Columbus. Okay, that's going to be tough for Michigan State.
Yeah.
So then let's just say that happens. Ohio State takes a second loss. They're out, and then they would have to go to Michigan. They would have to go to Michigan and win. Ohio State would have to go to Michigan and win. Yeah. So that way, the Big Ten has officially knocked out 2 teams just like that.
Yeah.
So. Even though that's not as important because Michigan State's going to go to the Big Ten championship game.
Right.
You're right. Right. Yeah. I think that Oregon's. I think it's obvious. Oregon's got to take another loss somewhere. I don't know where they're going to take it, but they have to.
Yeah.
That's terrible this year now.
I tell you, and that's the story, right? That's been the story for several years is that the Pac-12 is not very good. It becomes kind of a punching bag. Last year they had the Pac-12 championship game in front of like 10,000 fans. It was some kind of slugfest. But anyway, They have one coming up this weekend at Washington. I mean, I'm not saying that, but Washington could be a team. But then again, man, I mean the Pac-12 is just not
Terrible, man.
it's not good. And look, if the whole committee thing, okay, if you're gonna look at again body of work, what's the current body of work? Okay, I know that we're talking about the past of the playoff right now, but if you go back to the body of work, right, and you're looking at the committee, you can't tell me that Oregon going on the road and beating Ohio State, okay, and the rest of their schedule with the loss, okay, is not the same, if not, UC's maybe a little bit lower than beating Notre Dame on the road and being undefeated. And
Yeah,
you just
absolutely.
you have to sit there and look at the current body of work. They don't do it. They're not making it what team is the most deserving right now. It's about who they think is going to be the most deserving in the end. And that's
Mm-hmm.
again just the pyramid of frustration. It's kind of the top right there, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then another team that we do have to worry about. I mean, there's two more teams that are behind us right now that we have to really, really worry about.
Yeah.
It's Michigan and Oklahoma. Oklahoma has to take a loss. I think they can pick one. Oklahoma's got a pretty tough schedule coming up. They got to go to Baylor, and then they got to go to Clearwater and play Oklahoma State. That's going to be a really tough game. Michigan's got to play Ohio State at the end of the year. 7-1. There you go. So that's where I'm saying Ohio State beating Michigan would be best, but it's not the most important thing because they're not going to the Big Ten championship.
So what do we think happens? Let's say Michigan. Let's say that Ohio State beats Michigan State. So you have all of the Big Ten teams at one loss going into the final
Okay.
week of the regular season, and you have Ohio
Okay.
State a one-loss team versus Michigan another one-loss team. Who do we think is the team that we need to root for there? Because to me, that's a very doable situation. Michigan down the road, they got Indiana this week, they got Penn State the following week, and then they got Maryland the following week after that. If anything, I think Michigan's path to the playoff or path to the final game of the regular season is a lot better or a lot more likable than Ohio State and Michigan State's. And so, to your
Mm-hmm.
point about looking out for Michigan, I am concerned because I think they
Oh yeah.
could, I think
Yeah.
they can be the one to leapfrog.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing: I don't think Michigan leapfrogs if they're not in the Big Ten championship game. I
Hmm.
think if they get left out and Michigan State's the one in, they won't get leapfrogged,
Yeah.
and they'll be fine. Then after that, it's Oklahoma. Oklahoma, they got to lose. They have to. I think Oklahoma loses, they're out. That's it.
I
You
would
can tell
say
me
of
anything.
all the things that I thought and maybe we thought the committee did wrong last night. I think Oklahoma was the
Mm-hmm.
one ranking that they did do right. I thought
Yeah,
Oklahoma, they haven't done anything convincing whatsoever, and the
done
fact that their
nothing, man.
best win is a Texas team on a neutral site, okay, that's fine.
Mm. Yeah,
But you were also down significantly in that ball game. You've only beat
yeah,
Nebraska by a score. You
yeah.
barely scraped by West Virginia. You barely scraped by Kansas State. Mind you, Kansas State was leading them for a good portion of that ball game.
Right.
And obviously we know what happened 2 weeks ago against Kansas. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you want to talk about bad. I mean, to me,
Bad,
I don't right bad, right? I
bad,
don't
bad.
even if Oklahoma wins out, I still don't think that they jump UC. Like I'm not convinced that they do.
Yeah, but then it goes back to right. Look, in an ideal world where they're basing this off of who's the best team, Oklahoma would not jump UC. They wouldn't. However, you've got to look at what the committee's actually looking at, and it's the brand. Oklahoma's a much bigger brand than UC. As much as we don't like to think it is, it is. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a problem. That's a
Yeah.
problem.
Well,
Yeah.
and
And,
you also have to consider what Michigan is, and you want to say that Oklahoma, okay, they win out, they're gonna jump Michigan and UC. Like I don't see that. I mean,
no,
maybe I'm
no,
wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but
no. Right. But all in all, I mean, we both look at it. It's set up to keep UC out. It's exactly what it is. But that being said, let's end the podcast on a positive note here. We got
absolutely,
college football. We got college game day coming in.
yes,
Something that UC has been needing for a very long time. The signs are going to be incredible. It is. I
absolutely.
mean, and I was thinking about this today. I was like, what chance are we going to be like I'm trying to work out in my head like at the committee, but like I don't really know exactly how that can like jive with like
Yeah.
a beat. So I mean, you got obviously you got a big game on Friday, don't you?
Yeah, we got a big high school football playoff game on Friday night. If we win, I won't disclose the names of the schools, but I will say it is in Northern Kentucky. And if we
There you
win,
go.
if we take care of business as we should, then we'll be moving on to the next round. So,
There you go, coach.
unfortunately, I will not be in attendance for college game day unless we lose. But I have a
Mm.
hunch that we'll win, and so, I'll be
Is he talking?
DVRing.
Is he talking crap out here? Is he talking crap out here? Is the other?
I'll be DVRing college game day. So I'll be
Is
listening
the
in
other?
for the chance. I think my thing is that they've gone to some hostile places where people don't like them. I think they'll be pretty
Yeah.
prepared for a
Yeah.
couple expletives and a couple signs that might need to get taken down to keep it a
Yeah.
family friendly atmosphere. And so, I
Yeah.
think you gotta stay loud, stay proud, and put it on social
On him.
media. Don't let
Yeah.
them take it down.
Yeah. Yeah. If you had to pick the celebrity guest picker, who would it be?
That's a good question. I've gone back and forth on that, and I
Yeah.
actually thought about it today while I was at work. I think if I had to pick a guest picker,
Yeah.
it makes sense.
Mm.
Joe Burrow.
I think Joe Burrow would be awesome. Oh, I would love to have Joe Burrow there. That's a great pick.
home home this weekend against the Browns. They're not
Mm-hmm.
traveling. They probably did their walkthrough, earlier in the morning, probably just enough time for him to get out of there and head up to campus. Joe Burrow is my celebrity guest picker. Who is yours?
Okay? I'll get to mine, but real quick, do you think that's an actual possibility of him
No,
being the guest picker?
no.
No. Yeah.
That's who I want. That's
That's
who
who
I
you
want.
want.
Oh
That's who
yeah.
you would want. Okay. All right. I would say, and this is realistic. I think it would be hilarious, but you got to get him on board. You got to get him a jersey early. It's got to be Joey Votto, man. Joey Votto would be great. I think Joey Votto would be phenomenal on there. I think he'd be
he,
hilarious.
he's made for television. I mean, I tell you,
He's made for
you
television.
always look at a couple of those athletes who, once they retire, you say they're going to be ones who work on TV. Joey
Yeah.
Votto is going to be once Jim Day retires. Joey Votto will
Yeah.
be the Jim Day. He fits that personality mold so perfectly.
Yeah, he does. He does. He does. And plus, he'll be weird because he's just such a goofball. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was a good.
Is
Yeah.
there a non-sports athlete that we think it might be?
So I've seen Nick Lachey get thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's an easy pick. I'd love to see Bootsy Collins. I think Bootsy Collins would be great.
That would be exciting.
Um, Bootsy Collins would be electric. What do you think? You got any non-sports Cincinnati figures that could come in?
Yeah, I was thinking Nick Lachey. He would be the good pick. And I just had another name
Mm,
on the top of my head. Who's the rapper from
mm.
Cincinnati?
Yeah. Well, Gift Vader does. He's a rapper. He does my intro video. So
No,
Gift
he's
Vader would be
there
great.
you go.
Yeah,
Free
Gift
plug
Vader.
right there. Free
Yeah,
plug.
right.
But
There you go. What
who's
about
yeah.
what about Duke Reagan, the boxer that wears the Bengal
But,
stuff for yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah,
got a little bit of
yeah,
a doesn't he have a little bit of a
yeah.
history?
He's got a little bit. He's got
A little bit of
It's
a
not
bad
terrible.
history. I think they want
It's
a guy
not
with
bad.
good character being on College Game Day.
Good character.
Yeah.
Jerry Springer, I think, would be good. Jerry Springer, I think,
Yeah.
would be good.
What's
George
he doing
Clooney.
right now? Just
Jerry
hanging
Springer
out.
show, man. Just
Yeah,
hanging
Jerry
out. Just
Springer,
hanging out.
just
He's got
hanging out,
nothing else to
man.
do. Come on. I wouldn't be shocked if it was Jerry Springer. I honestly wouldn't. I
Yeah.
don't think we will be shocked by the pick of who's the celebrity guest picker. Honestly.
No.
I don't think we will be shocked.
No.
I think it'll be somebody that's like in the mix.
Yeah, maybe maybe it is someone off the wall, like maybe like Buddy LaRosa, or maybe like the owner of Skyline Chili, or how about Jeff Ruby?
Pete Rose.
How about Jeff Ruby?
Jeff Ruby would not be a bad pick whatsoever.
How about Jeff Ruby coming in being the celebrity picker?
Jeff Ruby would be good. Jeff Ruby would be good. A fan of the show. Fan of the show.
Fan of the show.
Fan of the show. All right, Brian, it looks like we are about out of time. I want to thank you so much for coming on. It looks like we had a good time, and I think we're going to have to do this again next week, see where we are.
Absolutely.
But anyway, thank you so much for coming on, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Anytime. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, this has been the Back Row Bengals Show podcast. I am your host, Josh Miller. Thank you for listening to this special edition brought to you by fansided.com. If you're a fan of any other sports team, any sort of sports, anything, they probably got an article for you. They probably got a podcast for you. Go to fansided.com. Go to Stripe Hype on fansided.com to go find my podcast and support that show. But anyway, that'll do it for me. I'm Josh Miller. That's Brian Miller. And we will see you guys next week. All right.